Hey everyone, good evening. Thank you for the comments on the last video, and thank you all for the new subscribers. I absolutely appreciate you, and welcome to my channel. In this channel I talk about a lot of different kind of topics that really depends what pops up into my head. Um, yeah, before we get into the actual video, I apologize for being late today with my upload. I know it's a little later than usual. I had a nap before this because I wasn't feeling too great, and I woke up and my heart was racing again, which doesn't happen too often, so it's okay. My ribs don't hurt right now, so that all aside, everything is fine. But yeah, my heart was beating so fast, just waking up for no reason. I don't think I've had a nightmare or anything. It was just a normal dream, but yeah, sometimes that happens and it's absolutely terrifying, but it is what it is. Yeah, so now to the actual video. Yeah, being somebody who's both an introvert and who is, neurodivergent or autistic, things are pretty interesting, and I've been watching a couple of videos like how autistic people see the world versus people who are normal, I suppose. Normal people, how normal people see the world versus autistic people. And it was so strange to see how normal people think, to just think in a straight line basically, to be like, that's where I need to go. But as an autistic person, I notice every detail, especially if it has bright colors or whatever. And I will instantly just be drawn to that. Or, yeah, anything that looks interesting or anything that will stand out basically just takes my mind to a whole other direction. And I'm like, what was it doing? Yeah, it was really fun to watch those videos. And if you haven't watched any of those, they're not mine, by the way. I don't have any of those. But yeah, it's fun to see. It's fun to see the difference. So I would recommend, for those of you who are curious and who would like to, that you just search up videos on how autistic people see the world. It really it blew my mind that that isn't the normal way of looking at things. Like, I know from my social worker who I talk to on the regular that there are certain things that bother me. She's like, yep, that's because you have autism. And I'm like, that doesn't bother other people? So for those of you who don't know, I have a gaming PC and I have Kingston RAM. I think it's Kingston anyway. I'm not 100% sure on the brand, but basically they have LED strips on them. So there's two pieces of RAM next to each other, and they have colors that go, how do I explain this? I'm sorry, my English is bad today, but like a rainbow, they just switch colors, like they keep looping and looping and looping. And the weirdest thing is they start off, the moment you start your PC, or the moment I start my PC, they start off equal, but then one of them starts to go higher than the other and they aren't in sync anymore. That bothers me so much. And yet every half an hour or so, they will start to get close again, and then they're synced again for like a minute or so, and then they go off again. Like, yeah, that bothers me so incredibly much, and I don't see how that doesn't bother other people. I thought it was OCD, to be honest, but no, it's apparently part of autism that really just bothers me. Also, when things just aren't in the correct color order or things like that, I can't stand it. Absolutely not. again, I thought this was OCD, but she told me, like, my social worker, she told me, like, nope, that's autistic. That's definitely an autism thing. And yeah, that was kind of funny. Also, when I hear things that other people do not really hear, like my dad's oxygen machine, it the previous one, which was the exact same model, had to be switched out, but it made this whistle sound every time it was blowing air into the tubes and stuff like that. Like, doo, doo, something like that. And my dad couldn't hear it. Most people couldn't hear it, but she could. My social worker, she could. She is a little different herself, and yeah, she could hear it. But also something that it had this rhythm in it, right? It was always the same sound, and this one has its own sound. The oxygen machine he has now has another sound. But for some reason, it's strangely comforting. I know this is really awkward, but when I'm stressed out or anything, having that constant sound just be regular, that's comforting for some reason. I don't know exactly why, but according to her, it's also an autism thing. And yeah, there's a lot of things that can help, especially when I'm stressed or when I don't feel well, and I just put on nature videos like rain and thunder or howling wind or things like that. There are a lot of different ones that just helps calm my head down, because everything up here is like pure chaos 24/7, right? Or okay, maybe not 24/7, but close to it. Yeah, the only way that I can get it to slow down is either by music, but music can have the opposite effect as well. Depending on the music that I'm listening to, I mean, it can really get my brain to work even harder. Uh, so let me try to give an example. I'm thinking about something, and I don't really want to be thinking about it, but depending on the music, I can either make it uh, go away and focus on something else, or it can spark ideas, right? And um, the way that I am is, I don't know how many people have ever heard of this. I've mentioned it in the last video, I think, but I do this thing called maladaptive daydreaming, right? Basically what it is you make scenarios in your head, right? You come up with all of these stories, and you know, you have this whole world that is completely different. You can create yourself in your own image, in your own way, with whatever it is you want to be doing, right? So for me, in a perfect world, currently, one of my daydreams or maladaptive dreams is currently that I'm a cop, but I'm also a genius, and I do things like solve problems, like thinking about shit like nuclear fusion and stuff like that, because I'm very curious. I'm not at all smart. Let me just tell you this, I'm nowhere near being a genius, right? But it's just cool to have those type of dreams that I can be what I want to be. And even though I'm not actually that smart, it's just interesting, right? I mean, it's your story. You can do whatever you want. And so, depending on the music that I'm listening to, either I can give my story a new road to go on, a new way to enhance it, or I can dumb it down in a way. And this is something that I don't know if a lot of people do this as well. I mean, I don't know too much about this, but sometimes when I cannot sleep, I pretend that I'm sleeping in my room in a different world, right? Oh, not a different world, a different reality. That's what I should say. A different reality that I created in my head with objects around me that comfort me, or people around me that comfort me, or whatever. Anything can help. And this sometimes helps me sleep, like if it works right. And yeah, another way that I easily fall asleep, by the way, is another sort of dreaming thing. It's basically I let my mind drift. I just don't think of anything. I just let it float. Like let things pop into my mind, let it float, and basically you start to see a lot of different things, right? You can't particularly make them out until you decide what it is you're seeing. And again, this is something really, really difficult to explain, but sometimes I feel like it might be waves, so I could be making out that it's ocean waves, or I'm on a beach somewhere, which is interesting because I actually kind of hate the beach. I cannot stand the heat at all, but yeah, it's interesting. Or I see complete buildings or anything like that. Just let my mind drift and then just go with it. And then I usually fall asleep into how do you say this? A lucid dream, right? I can control the dream while I'm sleeping, which is really cool, but it's not something I cannot control who or what I am. What? Just who I am. I'm never something else. Just I'm always a female, but it's difficult because I can control what's happening or where I'm going, but I cannot control who I am. Kind of feels like you're falling into somebody else's life. Um, yeah, that's the only way that I can describe it. So yeah, I'm very creative when it comes to things like this, which is why I try to inspire a lot of creators when I can to do that thing, right? Whether it's drawing or painting or making music, it's, yeah, never give up on any of that, because some people might call that a hobby, and even if it isn't good, or if your art might seem like it isn't good, you never freaking know, right? I mean, how many artists do you know who actually died and then became famous, right? It's a little sad to think about, but it is what it is. So yeah, when it comes to things like that, creativity is such an important thing. Like, I don't see why there are people who think that it isn't. Because without creativity, we wouldn't have curiosity as much, and at least in my opinion. Again, I'm not an expert here, I'm not a genius or whatever, but I think creativity is one of the most important things that you can have. Because without, like I said, without creativity, in my personal opinion, again, I'm not forcing this onto anybody, but in my personal opinion, it helps shape things, right? It helps things that you want to create take form. So, for instance, whoever brought up the teapot, right, had to have some creativity. Just making the teapot itself, the skill of making it, but also the skill of designing it so it didn't leak or whatever, to be used in the way that it was supposed to be used in. Okay, this is already a 15-minute video about to be. So I'm not gonna go on for much longer because that would be absolutely crazy. But yeah, so if you're a very creative person, or if you have something that you feel connected to, don't give up on that. It's important, even if people tell you, no, it's stupid, it's ridiculous. No, it isn't. If it's important to you, even if it isn't about creativity. If something is important to you, don't give that up for anybody. Don't. Even if you're bad at it, skill takes practice, right? With practice, you get more talented, you get more, you know, yeah, I forgot what I was about to say. Hello. So anyways, I'm gonna wish you all a good night from here on out, and I hope you have a good evening. I hope you have a good night, and yeah, I will see you all tomorrow. So I love you. Thank you to all the new subscribers. Thank you for all the comments and for the emails. I do appreciate it, and I'm sorry if I don't reply. I try to. It's just I have a lot of things going on in my daily life, and I sometimes forget, and sometimes I forget a few days in a row, even though I try to remind myself. Yeah. Anyways, I love you all. Have a good night, and see you all tomorrow.